So then the organism is always looking in the external environment to determine what's going to be a threat, always concerned about its body and where it has to, how it has to take care of it, and it's always concerned about time. How much time do I have to get there? The body, the environment, and time. Now, when you and I live by the hormones of stress, the very fact that we're releasing all these chemicals, by paying all of our attention on the external environment, we focus on objects and things, and we believe that the outer world is more real than the inner world. And this is where we start to feel separation. Now, why do we feel separation? Because the hormones of stress cause us to begin to really begin to understand or perceive reality as a materialist, defining reality with our senses. So the atom is 99.9999999% nothing. It's energy, it's emptiness, it's open space. It's 0.000000001% particle. And when we're living by the hormones of stress, we're focusing on the particle instead of on possibility. And this is where we get in trouble, because when we get to this point and we experience that level of separation, we always try to force and control outcomes in our life because we are matter trying to change matter. In other words, when we live by the hormones of stress, we feel more like matter and less like energy because we are fundamentally functioning as a particle instead of possibility. So then people then begin to use what they know in terms of their limited resources to get what they want. They compete, they manipulate, they lie, they cheat, they steal, they do what they can to try to get ahead in their life because for the most part, they don't know that there's any other way to do it. They're functioning from a primitive nervous system. But when people begin to get beyond themselves, and we've studied the brains in the workshops that we've done, and you and I are absolutely at our best when we get beyond ourselves. The moment you become nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere, in no time, the moment you and I become pure consciousness, the moment we get beyond our identities, our bodies, our faces, our culture, our gender, our hairstyles, our wardrobes, we get beyond the things we own, the people we know, the places we lived, we get beyond our pain, our emotions, our habits. That's the moment, no longer trying to predict the familiar future based on the memory of the past. That's the moment we become pure consciousness. In other words, we become thought alone. And that's the moment the body is literally releasing energy. And we go from particle to wave, from matter to energy. And the side effect of that is our heart begins to open. The brain gets very coherent. The heart begins to work with the brain. We broadcast a whole new electromagnetic signature. And instead of trying to predict the worst case scenario and get ready for it, we trust in the unknown. We trust in possibility. We begin to lay down the very thing we used our whole life to get what we want for something greater to occur. And so it's a skill, and you can teach people how to do this. And when people stop living by those limited emotions and they start opening their heart, they feel connected to something greater. And the moment they feel connected to something greater, they're no longer trying to force or control the outcome. They're getting out of the way and allowing the universe to organize it in a way that's just right for them. So the problem, I think, for most of us, me included, to answer your question, is that you and I and most people in our lives, we wait for our life to get so unbearable that crisis or trauma or disease or diagnosis or loss, something has to bring us to this lowest denominator in order for us to want to change. And this is a beautiful time in history, Panache, because people are beginning to realize that they don't have to wait for that. They can learn and change in a state of pain and suffering, or they can learn and change in a state of joy or inspiration. So, is there a connection between our authentic self and the soul, and how do we get there? Well, I think for most of us then, we begin to, we're young and we have a lot of confusing things that happen to us in our life, and when we're young, most of our attention is on our inner world. And as we begin to grow up and we meet friends and we move to different places and we own different things, we become very consumed with the external environment. And we begin to create an identity by the people we know and the places we go and the things we do. And all of our attention goes to the external environment. and we don't want to pay a lot of attention to our inner world. So that works probably for the first 35 or 40 years of our life. And then after you experience everything that life has to offer, all of a sudden nothing's making that feeling go away. And this is the moment the soul begins to wake us up and say, pay attention, because nothing is making that feeling change. So in other words, when you can predict the feeling of everything that's going on in your life, and nothing new is happening, all of a sudden you're left with those feelings from very early on, whether it's emptiness or unworthiness or insecurity. And so then this is where people all of a sudden have to make a choice. Some people, they buy the sports car, they buy the new boat, they join the new social club, they meet new people, they have affairs, they go on vacation to a new place, they buy new things. But when the novelty of all of those events wear off, here comes that feeling again. And so then other people, they begin to look at those emotions and they don't want to keep that facade going on any longer. In other words, this is how we appear to the world. This is the facade, this is the identity, this is the image. And this is how we really feel inside. Now, this person is identifying, creating identity with the external world so that nobody knows how they really feel inside. Now, everybody's doing the same exact thing. So God forbid anybody finds out that we're insecure or feeling empty. So you have to keep this facade going on with your identity in the environment and your body and the way you look and how busy you are, so that you don't have to look at this. Now, some people begin to look at this feeling, and this is the midlife crisis. This is where they say, I don't love you, I don't know why I'm doing this, I don't like those people, I don't want to keep this going any longer anymore. And they begin to pay attention to this feeling. Now, there's not a lot of structure in our Western world to do that. So the moment people begin to lose their mind, and they begin to tell the truth about who they are, they begin to break their emotional bonds with everybody in their life. That's when they go to the doctor and get Prozac, and there they go, they return right back to that person. But this gap between how we appear to the world and who we really are inside is based on the amount of emotions that we've memorized from past experiences. Now, when we begin, there's pain there, there's sadness there, there's unworthiness there, there's insecurity there, and we're not looking for the external environment to make this feeling go away. In other words, we start looking at how we think when we feel this way, how we act when we feel this way, and we begin to move through those emotions, and we begin to overcome them. Every time we overcome an emotion, we liberate energy, and we begin to close the gap between how we appear to the world and who we are inside, until how we appear is who we are. We've liberated all this energy. That's the moment we call transparency. And that's the moment where the person is truly happy, no longer needing anything outside of them to make them happy, but the true happiness is coming from within them. In other words, so many people confuse pleasure and happiness. And pleasure is the accumulation of things to feel good, and happiness is coming from within. So that intelligence that's giving us life right now, that's digesting our food and organizing trillions of functions in one cell every single second and organizing DNA, that self-organizing intelligence is looking for a crack to leak out. And when it begins to leak out, it begins to consume us. And that's the moment we become like it. We become more loving. It's a loving intelligence. We become more mindful. It's a great mind. We become more willful. It's got an amazing will. Its nature becomes our nature. We become more giving. It's a giver of life. So I think when we begin to all of a sudden realize that there's nothing wrong with the accumulation of things, but I think we've been conditioned into believing that that true happiness, changing everything in our external world, and true change comes from trying to do it from the outside instead of doing it from within. And I think this is, again, really important for us, because as we begin to overcome that, those limited states, the body's no longer living in the past. And that's where most of our pain comes from, is when the body's living in the past. And we've measured so many people in the process of transformation. And when they get beyond their past, they're pretty unlimited people, and the side effect of that is true joy and true expression of life, which I call the natural state of being. So when people are living in this gap between how they appear to the world and how they really feeling, they don't want to look at this emotion because it is painful. What they'd rather do is distract themselves from all these things in their external environment so they don't have to look. But when that feeling isn't going away, and they can't, after the sports car and after the vacation and after the buying the new things, the new wardrobe, the facelift, whatever, and this feeling keeps returning, this is a time really where they have to look at that emotion. And they have to, as you said, you have to be in the presence of that emotion and ask some fundamental questions. Are these emotions driving my thoughts? How do I think when I feel this way? Now, those thoughts are just old circuits that have been fired and wired in the brain. How do I behave? What do I do? How do I act? What do I say? What comes out of my mouth? Now think about this. If you can observe how you're thinking, notice how you're acting, and pay attention to how you're feeling, the moment you become conscious of what you're unconscious to, it means you're no longer the program. Now you're the consciousness observing the program, and this is when we begin to objectify our subjective selves. And the more we can look at ourselves through the eyes of someone else, the more conscious we can become of that, the less unconscious we're prone to be in our normal life.
Another amazing speech by Dr. Joe Dispenzaa. I hope you enjoyed it and found valuable information. Still, we have our daily challenge to finish. So complete the quote challenge. If you're new to this, your job is to complete the inspiring quote and give us the right answer. If you know the correct answer and you answer correctly first, you're the winner of this challenge. In the previous video we had a quote that belongs to Dr. Joe Dispenzaa and we were looking for two words. The quote goes like this: "We cannot create a new future by holding on to the emotions of..." The correct answer is the past. So we cannot create a new future by holding on to the emotions of the past. Many of you knew the right answer, so congratulations to everyone with the correct answer. But we'll see how you do today. Since you love Dr. Joe Dispenzaa, here is another quote for you. When you think from your past memories, you can only create. So we are missing for two words. If you know the correct answer, be the first one and win this daily challenge. Even if you are not sure, try and guess. If you love this video, give your thumbs up and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button so you don't miss any of the new videos and new challenges. So hit the bell button and you'll get noted when my new video is out. If you really like what we do here and want to support us, you can join our channel and our community for a symbolic fee and gain many other additional features. You can do that by clicking the join button next to the subscribe button, or you can click on the link in the description of this video. Stay good and have a great day!